This episode is brought to you by Shin Megami Tensei 5.
Shin Megami Tensei fans rejoice because SMT5 is on the post-apocalyptic horizon. New to SMT but interested in picking up the latest entry without playing every single game first? Well, buckle up because we're taking you on an apocalyptic crash course through the series so far. Spoiler alert, obviously. The first game in the SMT series begins with our protagonist, who is just called the protagonist, waking up from a super weird dream involving a super pretty lady taking a bath, but also a crucified guy, and another guy being tortured by demons, so the whole thing is kind of a mixed bag. He discovers that a mysterious dude named Steven has mailed him and several others a demon summoning program, which our protagonist doesn't find sus at all, and downloads to his laptop. I'd at least run a malware scan before booting that thing up, but that's why I'm not the star of a beloved gaming series. The protagonist then heads outside to run some errands for his mom, but things in Tokyo, where he lives, just FYI, seem a little messed up. There's a bunch of police barricades out, people are missing, someone got full-on murdered in the park. Bad vibes all around. Turns out some experiments with teleportation went, a little wacky, which has never happened before in the history of teleportation experiments. So this particular teleportation experiment gone awry accidentally opened up a portal to the abyss, letting a bunch of demons loose on Tokyo. Whoops! The protagonist has another dream with the same weird characters in it, but in this dream they interrupt a ritual sacrifice, which I'm sure we don't have to worry about. The protagonist wakes up and discovers what the demon summoning program can be used for: summoning demons. Steven, that mystery guy from before who sent the program, teaches the protagonist how to use the program so he can fight fire with fire, summoning chill demons in order to take down the decidedly less chill demons. In the midst of all this, the protagonist meets real-world versions of the people from his dreams, including the pretty bath lady whose name is Yuriko. She promises to always be with him, just as soon as she can sever his connection with the other one. That's probably also nothing to worry about. Pretty soon, the whole world finds out about all the demons running around in Tokyo, and they're a little concerned. The American military, headed up by Ambassador Thorman, barges on in and declares martial law, which apparently they're allowed to do. A guy named Goto, along with his own Japanese militia force, is not particularly cool with the Americans deciding to be in charge, so his group teams up with the devil they know, literally. Seriously, they start working with the demons. A third faction, led by a woman known only as the Heroine, rises up to try to get everyone to chill out and stop fighting each other. But their goals don't super work out because the Heroine, who was the person being ritually sacrificed in the protagonist's dream, which I'm sure is nothing to worry about, gets captured by Goto's forces and slated for public execution. Yuriko, the bath lady from earlier, plans to personally oversee the execution since it's all part of her plan to be with the protagonist forever. No matter which faction the protagonist aligns himself with, the Heroine gets rescued and joins him in the fight. Unfortunately, things get pretty messed up. Ambassador Thorman, who turns out to be Thor in disguise and using an extremely funny fake name, blows everything up with nuclear missiles. The Heroine magically sends the protagonist, along with the Law Hero and the Chaos Hero, to the Diamond Realm, saving them from getting blown up along with the rest of Tokyo. When they come back from the Diamond Realm, things haven't exactly been fixed. 30 years have passed, during which the entire world was destroyed in a nuclear apocalypse. And you can check out SMT9 if you want to know what happens in that window of time, but suffice to say things don't exactly get better for the people of Earth. Humanity has survived, but demons now roam the Earth, and the martial law faction and Japanese rebellion faction have morphed into the Messian Order and the Ring of Gaia, respectively. The two groups are pretty opposite. The Messians value law and, purging the world of sinners via building a big ol' cathedral, but the Gaians are all about chaos and, summoning Lucifer from the abyss in order to set even stronger demons on the world. The Law Hero teams up with the Messians, the Chaos Hero teams up with the Gaians, and the protagonist discovers he's connected to a mysterious girl who turns out to be the reincarnation of the heroine from before. So everyone's having a pretty eventful week. The Messians and Gaians are racing to complete their respective plans, neither of which sound particularly cool or chill for the world at large. Both teams want the protagonist on their side, and he can choose either, or he can kill the reps from both groups and stay neutral, which is canonically what happens, but you can play however you want. The protagonist isn't the boss of you. The Messians finish building their cathedral thingy, which brings a super biblical flood that washes away everything that isn't in the cathedral, leaving just a few Messians and Gaians alive. It's hard to act like you're the good guys when you just murdered everyone that isn't in your church, but the Messians are sure gonna try. The remaining Messians and Gaians have split the church in half and are locked in a pretty intense stalemate, with the Gaians taking charge of the lower floors and the Messians claiming the upper levels for symbolism reasons. The protagonist has to fight his way through everybody to get to the big bosses, the Angel Michael on Team Messian and the Asura Lord on Team Gaian. Gaia. Along the way, he bumps into former dream girl / real-life nightmare girl Yuriko, who reveals that she's actually the demon Lilith in disguise, and that the protagonist and the heroine are reincarnations of Adam and Eve. Once the protagonist defeats Michael and the Asura Lord, he's teleported to the roof of the cathedral, where he meets Taishang Laojun, a deity whose whole thing is balance. He thanks the protagonist for restoring balance to the universe, like I said, it's his whole thing, and bids him to build a brand new future for mankind, or like whatever's left of it.
In Shin Megami Tensei 2, things start out pretty good.
The protagonist has followed the instructions of Balance God, building a free society where everyone can worship as they please. Unfortunately, all that balancy goodness doesn't last. It isn't long before the Messian Church takes over the government and transforms society into a theocracy. Though the Gaians attempt to rebel, every uprising is quashed by the Temple Knights. The Messians construct a huge building, the Center, and announce plans to create a municipal government which will be called Millennium. Thanks to a killer combo of radioactive contamination and climate change, the majority of the world outside of Tokyo Millennium is fully uninhabitable, which forces a ton of people to seek refuge there, and everyone's just waiting for the Messiah to show up so that society can transform into the 1,000-year kingdom, a peaceful utopia where everyone can live in harmony. This brings us to our protagonist, not the other protagonist, a different guy, who actually has not one but two names. He's originally called Hawk, and he wins citizenship in the Center by kicking butt at being a gladiator in the Valhalla district. Also, he has amnesia, so his background is a total mystery. A woman named Hiroko asks him to help her find a missing boy, which they totally do not manage to do, and are escorted to the Center. When he meets the Messiah Bishop, he's informed that his real name is Aleph, and he's actually the Messiah everyone's been waiting around for. The Center tells him that a temple knight named Beth was sent by God to be the Messiah's perfect partner, and the two of them go on fun, demon-slaying adventures together around Tokyo Millennium. Unfortunately, demons get into the Center, and some other guy, Daleth, keeps running around telling everyone that he's the real Messiah, which was probably pretty confusing for everyone. Aleph and Beth take Daleth on, and the good guys win. Yay! But only because Beth sacrifices herself to save Aleph. Boo! Aleph spares Daleth's life, and everyone recognizes him as the true Messiah. Aleph travels through the underground with a demon named Nadja, where he discovers a brainwashed and imprisoned Hiroko. He tries to free her, but she refuses to leave. That is, until Nadja fuses with her, curing her of her washed brain. While they're heading back, they find out that the Center has released the demon Abaddon, a big, chompy boy who's going to swallow the entirety of the Valhalla district. It turns out that the Center is really excited about the 1,000-year kingdom, but not so excited about letting in people they don't consider worthy. So they're gonna do a genocide, I guess, because that's like their go-to move. Aleph, Hiroko, and Zayn, a temple knight who kind of looks like the Michelin Man, head back to the Center to confront the elders, only to discover that they're actually the archangels Michael, Raphael, Uriel, and Gabriel in disguise, which is a very Scooby-Doo villain move of them, to be honest. They all fight, and Michael, Raphael, and Uriel beef it, leaving Gabriel behind to reveal their mysterious motives. It turns out that God had commanded the angels to oversee the creation of Tokyo Millennium and wait for the Messiah, but they got bored or impatient or whatever and created Aleph, meaning he's actually a fake Messiah, and it also turns out he was the little boy Hiroko was looking for in the beginning, but artificially aged up. Beth, R.I.P., was also created artificially to be the Messiah's partner. Zayn was created to be his bodyguard, even Daleth was created to be a false savior and establish Aleph as the real Messiah to the people of Tokyo Millennium. Lucifer summons Aleph and Hiroko to his castle because after all these shenanigans, he's pretty sure Aleph is Satan. Fortunately, he turns out to be wrong, but warns our duo that Satan's revival is imminent and he's going to try and wipe out humanity. After they leave Lucifer's castle, Aleph and Hiroko run into their old pal Gabriel, who takes them to the Garden of Eden, which is conveniently located on top of the Center. Not a bad commute if you're an angel with a day job. Hanging out in the garden is none other than Zayn, who reveals he isn't just a bodyguard. In fact, he's the real Satan. Twist! At this point, the player can choose to ally with Gabriel and Zayn, destroying Tokyo Millennium in order to create the 1,000-year kingdom, which turns out to actually be a big ol' spaceship. God appears, and Zayn, Aleph, and Hiroko team up to kill him. Zayn then declares that Aleph really is the true savior after all, and then crumbles to dust just to really drive the point home, I guess. The player can also choose to ally with Lucifer or stay neutral, killing Zayn before he can destroy Tokyo Millennium. Aleph is then branded a false messiah, kills God, and frees humanity, all in a day's work for a maybe false messiah.
In Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne, we go back in time to an alternate version of modern-day Tokyo.
Our player-named protagonist arrives in Tokyo, where he meets up with his friends Chiaki and Isamu to visit their teacher Yuko, who's been hospitalized. Along the way, he learns that two cults got into a big fight in the park, which ended with several people dying. When they get to the hospital, they discover that it's totally empty. Well, mostly. First, they bump into Lucifer in his child form, then they encounter Hikawa, the head of the Cybers Corporation, and, more relevantly, the Cult of Gaia. He attacks and almost kills the protagonist, but Yuko shows up and saves the day. She brings him to the roof of the hospital to witness an apocalyptic event called the Conception, which will create a spooky inside-out vortex world. Lucifer shows up again and infuses the protagonist with a parasite called Magatama, which transforms him into the Demi-Fiend, meaning he has demon powers but a human heart, kind of like Venom. The Demi-Fiend escapes the hospital and, along with uber-fashionable occult reporter Hijiri, begins to explore the vortex world. Even in this alternate timeline, it turns out that there are still two big teams fighting with each other, except these teams are actually cults. One is called Hikawa's Assembly of Nihilo, the other is the Mantra Army. Or rather, the other was the Mantra Army. It gets destroyed by Hikawa and formerly cool teacher Yuko. Fortunately, Yuko later realizes that Hikawa is bad news and sets off on her own. Unfortunately, she allies herself with Aradia, a former god from the Shadow Vortex, which seems like kind of a lateral move at best. The Demi-Fiend's other friends, Chiaki and Isamu, are also trying to find a powerful entity to ally with. It's a whole mess all around. See, everyone's trying to create their own reason, which is a powerful inner philosophy that can be used to shape the world. Hikawa wants a quiet world where everyone is the same, Chiaki wants a world where the strong are in charge, and Isamu wants a world where everyone can be their own person. But to make their chosen reason the new way of things, they'll need a huge amount of an energy known as Magatsuhi. Yuko was also trying to form a reason, a really nice-sounding one where life is valued and people are free, but dies before she can finish it. R.I.P. Before she kicks the bucket, however, she gives the Demi-Fiend a helpful artifact that will help him change the world to the reason he likes best. Whichever reason the player chooses results in a different ending, all of which involve a big fight where, like, a lot of people die.
Shin Megami Tensei Strange Journey is super fun, but totally unrelated to the rest of the series.
Basically, a mysterious black hole appears at the South Pole, and of course, demons are involved. The protagonist in this one is an unnamed American soldier working to figure out what the heck is going on. If this sounds of interest to you, you can play the original or check out the Redux, which has a whole new storyline in it, but let's keep moving for now.
Shin Megami Tensei 4 is also pretty separate from the rest of the Megami Tensei games, but it's got a number in the title, so we're gonna talk about it.
To start off, the protagonist of this one has a name. He's Flynn, and he's traveling with his pal Issachar to Mikado Castle in the Kingdom of Mikado, a feudal society based on medieval Europe. Flynn and Issachar hope to pass a test in order to become samurai, responsible for guarding Mikado against the demon threat. Issachar fails, but Flynn passes, and since he's the main character, I think we can call that a 100% success. He meets the other initiates, Walter, Jonathan, and Isabeau, and receives a fancy bracelet that contains AI. Flynn's AI is named Burroughs and advises him throughout the events of the game. That's when things really kick off. A mysterious figure calling herself the Black Samurai gives residents of Mikado, including Issachar, cursed books that turn them into demons. The samurai show up to save the day, restoring order to Mikado by killing all the demons, including Issachar. R.I.P. The mystery of what the heck just happened obviously doesn't end there, so the samurai are sent to find the legendary land that's rumored to exist below Mikado, Tokyo. They climb down a big long tunnel and find themselves on top of a skyscraper, then learn the truth. Tokyo is covered by a massive rock dome and trapped in an eternal night, and Mikado has just been chilling on top of it the whole time. The gang searches Tokyo for the Black Samurai, battling enemies along the way, including demons, obviously, the Ashurakai, which is basically the Mafia, and the Ring of Gaia, which is being run by our old friend Yuriko, aka the Bath Lady from the first game. It turns out that she's also the Black Samurai in this game, so she's a pretty multifaceted ancient demon lady. Her goal with the Demon Book shenanigans was to bring chaos to the Kingdom of Mikado, so, like, mission accomplished, I guess. On the orders of Sister Gabby, a member of the Mikado Church, Flynn and co. rescue 3 masked men, then go on to defeat both the Ashurakai and the Ring of Gaia. This sounds like a pretty successful day, until demons are released into Tokyo via the Yamato Reactor, which is an energy source that ties the parallel dimensions together. The gang investigates the 2 different timelines of Tokyo, one that is law and one that is chaos. Flynn is assigned a score based on his choices throughout the game that determines whether the player is law, chaos, or neutral. Also, Sister Gabby and the 3 masked men are actually those pesky archangels from earlier: Gabriel, Uriel, Raphael, and Michael. Flynn's buddy Jonathan throws his hat in with them, and they merge to form Merkaba, God's chariot. Because every SMT game protagonist has a law friend and a chaos friend, Walter opts to merge with Lucifer in order to destroy Mikado, which is frankly very chaotic of him. If Flynn winds up on the law path, he sides with the angels, defeating Lucifer and then destroying Tokyo to prevent further corruption, which kills them in the process. If Flynn goes down the chaos path, he and Lucifer team up to defeat Merkaba, destroy Mikado, and wage a brand new war against God. If Flynn ends up neutral, Isabeau joins forces with him to take on both Merkaba and Lucifer. After winning the fight, Isabeau evacuates Mikado's population, bringing them down to Tokyo, and the dome is removed, letting the sun shine on Tokyo once more.
Things aren't great and balanced and sunny for long, though, which you can probably guess based on the subtitle of the next game, Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse.
The game takes place in the year 2038 in Japan, 25 years after a huge war between Lucifer and the angels. In order to protect Tokyo from further destruction, the city is placed under a rock dome. So basically, this game takes place at the same time as SMT4, which is pretty neat. The story follows an apprentice for the Hunter Association, Nanashi, who starts things off with a bang by dying immediately. RIP. It's a short game, but pretty fun. Just kidding, the game doesn't end there, of course. Nanashi is brought back to life by a demon named Dagda, who promises to resurrect him, but not for free. Nanashi is brought back to life as a god-slayer. Later, he and his friend Asahi are tricked into unsealing the malevolent deity Krishna, who plans to destroy the whole universe so that he can remake it in his own image. Krishna takes Asahi hostage, forcing Flynn, you remember Flynn from the previous game, to surrender to him. Krishna also unleashes a big snake monster in order to harvest human souls, which he needs to power his plans. Nanashi and his friends kick the snake's butt, or whatever version of a butt snakes have, and then take on Krishna, kicking his butt as well. They rescue Flynn, and everyone heads out to continue the butt kicking. They set off to face the angels and demons. Nanashi has the choice to support either, or he can support humanity by killing both Lucifer and Merkaba. Unfortunately, things take a little bit of a turn at the celebration afterward when, twist, Flynn murders the other demon hunters and reveals that he's actually Shisha, the big snake monster from earlier, reincarnated in Flynn's form. Krishna faked his own death in order to trick everyone into killing the angels and demons, so, whoops. The real Flynn is being held hostage by Krishna. Shisha murders Asahi and becomes the cosmic egg, which will hatch on the full moon, becoming Krishna's new universe. Everyone storms the egg in order to defeat Krishna and rescue the real Flynn. Once inside the egg, Dagda, the demon who brought Nanashi back to life, remember, reveals he has his own plans for the universe. He wants to create a world where humans are totally independent, and he needs Nanashi to help him accomplish this. Dagda's mom Danu shows up and tells Nanashi to destroy the egg instead of helping her son. At this point, Nanashi can rebel against Dagda and kill him, at which point Danu brings him back and Nanashi kills him again. Alternatively, he can side with Dagda, but then his friends turned against him and he has to kill them all. Once he's done killing whichever people and/or gods he's decided to kill, Nanashi makes his way to the heart of the egg, the yolk if you will, and finds Krishna and Flynn, but not quite in time to save the day. Krishna forcibly fuses with Flynn, becoming Vishnu Flynn. Nanashi takes him on, defeating him and separating the two once again. There are two alternate endings here based on who Nanashi sided with in the Dagda fight. If he sided with his friends, Flynn kills Krishna, Nanashi destroys the egg yolk, and everyone celebrates. That is, until Steven appears. You remember Steven from the first game? He emailed the demon summoning program? Anyway, he's here now, and he reveals that there's one more enemy to defeat before humanity can truly be free. And if you've been paying any attention, you already know who it is. That's right, we're killing God again. Nanashi and Flynn enter a portal, Flynn's old buddies Walter and Jonathan show up to help, and everyone battles God and kills him. In the end, humanity is freed from the various deities and enters a new era of peace. However, if Nanashi sided with Dagda, Flynn is killed in the battle with Krishna, so Nanashi kills Krishna himself. The cosmic egg hatches into Dagda's vision for the universe, and he makes Nanashi its new creator. Steven also shows up here and once again does the whole "the universe will never be free until you kill God" spiel, so Dagda resurrects Flynn and he and Nanashi invade God's universe and kill him. The old universe is destroyed and reborn into one where humans can truly be free. Dagda fades from existence and Nanashi remains in charge of everything, but he doesn't get to party with his friends because he murdered them, so it's not like the most happy ending.
Now that you're all caught up, you're more than ready to face the demons of Shin Megami Tensei 5, which releases for the Nintendo Switch in November 2021.
And hey, maybe you'll like it so much you'll go back and play all the other games, and then maybe the side games, and then of course the mobile games, and don't forget the MMORPG, and then maybe you'll venture into the Persona spin-off series, or the TTRPGs, or the animation, or the manga, or the novel.